What's up, Kansas City? I'm your host, Glenn Brian Frizzell. Today we are filming in the historic Lincoln Building, 18th and Vine Jazz District. Today's special guest, this is his first time here. Let's give a warm what's up, Kansas City welcome to the Superintendent of Grandview Public Schools, Mr. Kenny Rodrequez. Welcome to What's Up, Kansas City, sir.
Appreciate you having me.
We appreciate you coming here. Let's get right to it. Recent current news in the Grandview area, poll results. On the no tax increase bond issue, 75% of voters voted yes. What does this mean for Grandview School?
Well, this helps us continue to move forward. I mean, we've got a $9 million no tax increase. Anytime that you have 75% of your population that is in favor of that, it means that the community has a lot of confidence in what we're doing. So this allows us to continue to make improvements to our facilities. You know, we've got a lot of older buildings, but it also helps us to move things forward. We can add more support for our extracurricular activities, and we get to make improvements to our sites so our kids really feel confident coming in, but then make enhancements for like safety and security, because these schools were built, 40, 50 years ago, and things looked a lot different 40, 50 years ago in terms of safety and security than it does now.
Certainly. Now, these poll numbers are up on the website. Can you tell us what else is going on currently in the Grandview School District?
We have, right now, we certainly are trying to basically finish strong. We've got a lot of things moving forward. Testing begins next week. So certainly with our high stakes testing in terms of the state of Missouri, we want our students to feel confident and our school district to really be ready for what's going to happen academically so we can really finish the school year. We've got the statewide ACT on Wednesday. We've got a lot of stuff to do in a very short period of time, so we want to make sure we finish strong.
Sound like a very busy man, Mr. Rodriguez. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Your background is in music education.
It was, yes. I was a band director for 6 years and a music coordinator for 2. Did a lot of that, some in Missouri and some in Oklahoma, before I went ahead and decided to be an administrator. Was an assistant principal and a principal, moved up to a director level, and did that for several years before moving up to Kansas City. Was actually worked in the Kansas City, Missouri district for 2 years as director of secondary schools, and then was able to be hired as an assistant superintendent in Grandview 3 years ago. So I did that job for 2 years, and then was blessed to be given the opportunity to be superintendent.
Now, what instrument did you play?
Percussion.
Well, Mr. Rodriguez, I know from my experience as a band student, our band teacher, it's all about teamwork, it's all about precision, it's all about being able to play in rhythm with your other band members when you're reading that music. How does that translate over to the job as superintendent of Grandview Public Schools?
I think there's so many correlations. As a band director, I was constantly working with families and working with parents, motivating kids, trying to make sure that, again, you're coordinating a lot of different things at the same time. So you've got to make sure that everyone knows their role and knows their part, and but you also got to differentiate. So not everybody's going to be a number one top player. You've got some kids who, I just want to be here. How can I help? Mm-hmm. So you've got to make sure and have everybody doing a different role sometimes. So there's a lot of correlations. I still use a lot of those skills to this day, for sure.
Wow, how awesome. Now, Mr. Rodriguez, we know you've been with Grandview Public Schools as superintendent since July of 16.
Yes.
Have you faced any challenges since you've been here?
Absolutely. The role itself is challenging. Just transitioning to the role of superintendent, you transition from the person who is responsible for implementing and doing all those things to the person who really sets the vision and works with the Board of Education on where does the district need to go? What is that vision for the next 3 to 5 years? Then you work with your team to make sure that you are hiring and working with your team and developing them to be the ones who go through and implement that. And then you make sure that you're checking on them. So the fun part for me is I get to work with a really high quality team, but I get to really work with them and push them and make them be stronger at that. But I'm transitioning from being the one implementing that stuff to being the one setting the vision for it and then checking and monitoring the progress of it. So that's been challenging, certainly working continually with the community and building back trust. That's an every year, every day for the rest of the time that anybody's in this role. It's going to be a constant role, because you always want the community to be supportive, and to do that, you've got to work with them. Make sure that you're constantly getting them involved in what's happening in the district.
Now, Grandview CS4 School District is a proud staple in the community. South Kansas City community. It's also a top-ranked district in Missouri, proudly serves a diverse student population of approximately 4,000, established in 1914, and the district has been accredited throughout its 100-year history. Why is that history important with you establishing that vision statement moving forward?
It's important because, like you said, we've established that the Grandview District stands for something, and it should stand for a high academic excellence. We want to hold our kids to a very, very high standard, regardless of the diversity, regardless of free and reduced population or whatever other statistic that you want to put in there. Our kids deserve it. Our kids deserve the best education. If they show up and they want to be in our district, we've got to make sure that we provide that for them. So to have over 100 years of history and be able to say, look, this is what we've been able to accomplish, we feel very, very proud of that. But we also know we got a long way to go in order to make sure that we still continue to build upon that history, because we're not done. We've got a lot of things that we wanted to accomplish.
Now, what is Grandview School District distinct for? I know a couple of years back I read that we were getting more forensics. We're getting into more training our students to be able to explore science forensically, which I thought was exciting at the time. Are we still pursuing that? What other areas make us distinct?
Absolutely. Project Lead the Way is still one of the main areas that we continue to focus on and expand upon. We were one of the first in the Kansas City metro area to implement Project Lead the Way over 10 years ago. We celebrated our 10-year implementation last year. So we've been able to increase and improve upon that with not only at the high school, but implementing in the middle school. Next year, all of our 5th grade classes will have the Project Lead the Way launch program, and then all of our kindergarten through 4th grade classes will have individual modules that will also be engineering based, but more projects and hands-on kind of opportunities, so we can get kids excited. It doesn't mean that they're all going to be engineers, but we want them exposed to those kind of opportunities because they're excited about it. When you see them building all these particular things, they don't know that they're doing engineering. They just know, hey, this is a really fun project. And then you teach those other components around it before they're like, gosh, I could do that. I mean, I didn't know that was engineering. They just kind of see it sometimes as something, well, I have to be able to be really good at all this kind of stuff. No, you just got to have an interest, and so we can weave that around them. So yeah, being able to expand upon that certainly continues to be something that we want to do. We're still known for fine arts. We have an outstanding fine arts program. We've had a long-standing jazz band that continues to be well known in the area, marching band, and so fine arts program. Our athletics programs continues to continue to get accolades. Obviously, 7 years in a row of track. 6 years in a row. We're going for 7 this year in terms of state championship track team, boys team. We won the girls a couple years ago. So we've got a lot of things going on that we continue to build upon as well.
Also read some good things about the basketball team.
Basketball team this year went all the way to districts. We were 1 game away from going into the state playoffs, and so that team is mostly juniors, and they'll be back next year. I've already talked to them and coach, and they're already hungry. So they've already got the signs up and ready to go. They'll be back next year.
Let's talk a little bit about academics. Not a real big point, but the state annual performance report in November of 2016, right around the time you were in your first couple of months of tenure, said that the Grandview, their overall percentage point was down maybe 4 points from 2015. Is that really a big deal? Are you doing something to tackle that, take that on?
I think anytime that you have a decrease, it's a big deal. We take it very, very seriously. The unfortunate thing is that those numbers don't tell the whole story. There's a lot of intricate pieces to that because it's not just about academics, but part of that is also attendance, and part of that is also graduation rate. Some of that is just your growth from year to year and how and what those statistics look like, because it's based on a 3-year average. But no matter what, it's concerning. We want to make sure that we are constantly excelling in every single area, not looking like we are going backwards. And no matter what, when you have a percentage that drops, it looks like you're going backwards. Things that we've done to improve upon that: number one, we're certainly working really hard on our ACT scores. We actually had an assembly today with all of our juniors and been working with all of our junior class to really increase and make sure that they're prepared for the ACT that they take next week. The state of Missouri has all of the students in junior class take the ACT, so they need to be prepared for that. We're also working with our science curriculum. We've redone our social studies classes to make sure that we are preparing our students for those tests that they'll start taking over the next couple weeks. So it's a constant, never-ending journey for us to make sure that we're always improving.
Now, Mr. Rodriguez, you also blog regularly, and you talk about the state assessment test being a goal on your blog. How can our viewers keep in touch with you and reach out to you on your blog?
Well, I've certainly tried to make sure that I'm more accessible just in being out there, being in the community, putting those kinds of things out there. Certainly they can, I've had several people make contact with me through the website that we redesigned in July, making it easier for them to find out what's going on. But also some people don't necessarily take the time to reach out to find out what's going on. So the blog, putting things in the local newspaper there in Grandview, certainly trying to do whatever we can to get our story out, because we want people to know, coming and being more than willing to do any interview that we possibly can, so people can find out more about the things that we're doing.
Certainly. Now, I just threw this topic out there. I know we could spend more than 15 minutes talking about it, but the charter versus public school debate versus private school. Within that same state annual performance report, University Academy and Ewing Marion Kaufman School, those are both schools in the Kansas City urban area, they scored 100 points out of a possible 140 points. Well, what is your takeaway from this? What benefits do students have remaining with a public school? Should we go all charter direction in Kansas City? Should we go all public, private? You take a couple of minutes to respond on that.
I think people are always looking for choice. I think choice is what usually the term that everyone wants to bring up. The challenge that we have is, in terms of public schools versus, say, charter schools, is that the charter schools don't necessarily have to play by the same rules that the public schools do. So therefore, sometimes the comparisons that they're making are not necessarily apples to apples comparisons. Charter, people who work for charter schools and certainly are proponents of that would like you to believe that they're comparing the exact same thing. Those students do take the test, but they're not held to the same accountability standards that the school district is. And so that's why when they do put them in that standard, that many of our charter schools in the state of Missouri have actually failed students. So the challenge is that we have students leaving the public school system thinking that they're going to get a better education sometimes in a charter school than a public school.
That's not always the case.
It's definitely not always the case. Sometimes they believe that they're going to be more innovative in a charter school than they are in a public school. I'd say, this is the best. The last 5 years have been some of the best for public education that I've ever been around in the past 20. We are constantly on the forefront. We have charter schools right now that are trying to catch up to us on Project Lead the Way implementation because they're behind, because we've been constantly trying to push the envelope because, again, we believe that our kids deserve that too. So, we're always going to have charter schools. We're always going to have some other options because people like to have choice. But I'm not opposed to any of those things. I just want to make sure that everyone's playing by the same rules. If they don't do the things they need to do for kids, then I want to make sure that they're held accountable for that.
Now, Mr. Rodriguez, we mentioned you have a blog. Are you going to be writing about any specific topics coming up anytime soon?
I try to write about what's happening in the district, but also around our board priorities. The school board kind of really set several priorities, not only around career readiness and college readiness, but also around cultural competency. So I put that piece into my blog a couple different times, and it's certainly going to be something that I continue to focus on because, as I've told our staff, as long as I'm here, this is something we're going to talk about. It's timely. It's something that we're dealing with every single day, and our kids are dealing with it. If our kids are dealing with it, then we have to make sure that we are talking with them. How do we build positive relationships with kids that may not match the same demographic as us? How do we make sure that we're doing that and that we push them to be better, but that we can really work with them to understand what's happening? Our staff sometimes doesn't always understand that, so we're working with them too, but we've talked and done presentations to every one of our staff members, and we'll do that every single year as long as I'm superintendent to make sure that we are building the best possible relationships with our kids so that we can educate them. If we don't have a relationship with them in a real positive way, we're not going to be able to get to the academic pieces.
Relationships are very important, Mr. Rodriguez. We'd like to thank you. We reached out and you responded by sharing with us here today. As you've also stated in your blog, it takes a community to raise a child. We hope we can be a small part of that community. Do you have any closing words, anything to add?
Just what you said. I say it all the time. School districts, not just mine, we can't do it by ourselves. We need everybody. We need the community. We need partners. We need not just money. It's more about the relationship piece and internships for our kids and being able to provide opportunities, mentors, just everyone being around and being supportive. Find out exactly what's going on with your local district. If it's Grandview, talk to us. Look on the website. If you have questions, ask us. So that way you can be informed. A lot of times what people are talking about in the community is not necessarily the accurate 100% information. It's something that they heard. Well, I heard this is what happened. Come and talk to us. We're more than happy to have that conversation.
Mr. Rodriguez, we hope that you will come back and talk to us very soon.
Absolutely.
My name is Glenn Bryan for Zell. Check out more video online. And remember, the sky's the limit. Aim high, shoot for the moon. If you miss, at the very least, you would have landed among the stars. Take care until next time.
I'm IFBB Bikini Pro Kat Williams, and when I'm not working out in the gym, I'm searching the web on Cascade Media and What's Up Kansas City. So make sure you check them out.